Hello, hello, and welcome back to another car conversation. Also to the podcast, Make America Think Again. Dependent upon where you're getting this information. Some of you are on YouTube and others are on iTunes, SoundCloud, uh, wherever you get your receive your podcast. I'm there. I'm there. So yeah, Make America Think Again. And then you also have the car conversations on YouTube. So today I want to talk about some of my concerns, uh, in regards to this election. And a huge concern I have is that people are not connecting the dots in regards to SCOTUS. And the fact that the next president, whomever is elected, which will be Kamala Harris, but the next president of these United States will more than likely have the opportunity to fill three seats on the Supreme Court. Three, okay? So you have Roberts, you have Sonia Sotomayor, and then you also have Clarence Thomas. And I only think that Roberts and Thomas have held on this long because they're waiting for another Republican president to get into office. Why is that so important? Just take a look at Amy Coney Barrett, at the Gorsuch, and then also Kavanaugh. Look at the three most recent that were selected under 45. The plan is, if they get a Republican in the White House, then that Republican will have the next three picks, and they can feel so there's already conservative majority on SCOTUS, okay, in the Supreme Court, but they can replace Thomas and Roberts with much younger MAGA justices, more conservative than what we're already seeing now. So this is a huge concern that I don't think that a lot of people are connecting the dots on the importance and significance of that. So we're just gonna take a look at one thing. Well, you can take a look at the reversal of Roe v. Wade, but I also want to focus on the most recent ruling by SCOTUS saying that the President of the United States has complete and absolute immunity. And think about what that means for a moment. That means whomever is in office, whatever they do, they cannot be held accountable for it as long as they can justify it as operating under the guise of the office, under the guise of the presidency. So you had, when 45 was in office previously, remember the BLM protest, he asked if he could if the military could just go out and shoot people in the legs, the National Guard could just go out and shoot people in the leg. He wanted to call the National Guard in to get rid of the protesters that were in Washington Square when he wanted to go out there and hold that Bible upside down. So anything that he wants to do, he'll be able to get away with. Nothing could be done about it. So this is why I think it is critically important that we really pay attention to what all is at stake, because there's a lot on the line with this election. Not only just our freedoms, not only just bodily autonomy, not only just impacting our livelihoods all across the board altogether because of all the things that are in Project 2025, but also what is at stake is our democracy. Our democracy. We will completely change into something else. America will look like something totally different if you have one person at the helm who can do whatever they want to do and receive no consequences or repercussions of it. So that's why this is critically important. I also want to share with you my theory about what's happening right now. I have a theory about the whole setup for the Republican Party's campaign. I am more inclined to actually believe, I do believe, because he doesn't read, I do believe 45 when he says, I haven't read Project 2025. Now, his name is mentioned in it over 300 times, but has he actually read it? Does he actually know what all's in it? No, very doubtful. Even though Agenda 47 was taken straight from Project 2025, I do not believe that 45 is aware of everything that is in Project 2025. I don't think that he'd care if he did know, but I'm just saying I don't think he knows. But who clearly does know, and who clearly and repeatedly and consistently repeats a lot of the ideology of what has been put together by the Heritage Foundation in Project 2025 is J.D. Vance. So my theory is that 45 is being used because of his following, because of his MAGA minions, because these people will go off of a cliff for this individual. And the Heritage Foundation, White Christian Nationalists, the Federalist Society, all the organizations, all the entire machine behind this Project 2025 movement, they are clearly aware that they need the vote, the following, the votes from the following that 45 commands. But I believe the true executioner of Project 2025, the person that they want at the helm when Project 2025 is being implemented, is J.D. Vance. Look at J.D. Vance's history. J.D. Vance has spent 2 years, maximum 2 years. I don't think he might not even completed 2 years at this point, but 2 years maximum in the Senate. No prior public office, holding no prior public office to that. No public office prior to that. He went from the technology sector, which he was basically given a job. And several of his coworkers have said he didn't even show up to do that job. He was just on payroll. He went to Yale, was selected somehow, some way, to be mentored by Peter Thiel, very wealthy man. Look him up, Google him. And he has been mentored by this individual the entire time. So if you put his resume up against, he'll even put it up against 45. 45 has been in office before. 45 was the president previously. Was he ever presidential? No. Did he ever really do his job? No. He golfed more days than he actually was in the Oval Office, if I'm not mistaken. But still, he has more experience than J.D. Vance. But what J.D. Vance has is a working knowledge and apparently belief. I mean, at least that's what he's presenting right now, because you know he flip-flops. But what he's presenting right now is that he has a belief in the ideology that has been put together in Project 2025 by the Heritage Foundation and other organizations. And before I forget this, I would encourage every single person that can hear my voice to watch Bad Faith. It's a documentary that will take you through history and show you how we got here, how we've got here with this MAGA movement, how and why all these organizations, the machine behind MAGA, who they are, what they represent, how they started this thread, and how it just blew up and grew into something else, and why they started with the religious community, why and how it started with Christians. Please watch this documentary. I thought I know a lot about, the goings on of these people, and obviously I did not, because I learned quite a bit after watching this documentary. Also, let me say this. This is the last thing I'm gonna say on this, I think. Let me think. No. I got some other stuff to say, but I do want to point this out about this documentary. In this documentary, which one key thing that really stood out to me, coming from a psychology background, is that these groups not only targeted people because of their faith, because of their religion, and through religion, and building up this thought pattern and this belief that they were basically like the army of for God, and defending the kingdom of God against evil, which the rest of us represent evil, right? They not only convinced them of that, and they were not only targeted because of their faith and their religion, but also because of their mental capacity and mental health. Yeah. Now, how did they do that? Say, for instance, you go talk to your pastor about, feelings of depression or your anxiety, or, whatever the mental health issue is, and it's documented. And once they had the information on these people through their churches and different organizations they participated in, they set them up in a data bank, kept track of them, and then inundated them with information specifically targeting these people with mental health issues, and inundating them with information through emails, through social media, through mail outs, through who showed up at their door, just like Jehovah's Witnesses. They were specifically targeted because they knew they were vulnerable, the most vulnerable people in our country. So please watch Bad Faith. If you don't listen to anything else I said in this video, hear me now. Watch Bad Faith and educate yourself on what is happening right now in America, and what has been happening for years before Reagan. And you probably would be interested or surprised to know that MAGA is not an original slogan to 45. Reagan actually said it years ago, decades ago. So watch Bad Faith. And here's the last thing I want to say on this topic. We have to really think about what is at stake. So again, I'm saying SCOTUS, I'm saying our democracy, I'm saying our freedoms, our bodily autonomy, all those things are at stake. But remember what I've already told you is in Project 2025. 50,000 jobs, federal jobs, wiped out, will be cleaned out. Those people will be let go, will be fired and replaced with loyalists. These loyalists, whether they have experience or the degrees in this area, these areas are not, we don't know yet. But what we do know, they will be loyalists, they will be climate deniers, climate change deniers, and they will be put over weather, monitoring weather, and letting us know when a hurricane is about to hit, or what is the size of that, the last earthquake, how is global warming affecting America. They'll let tornadoes, all those things. That department will be totally gutted. The FDA that keeps us on top of what foods, like, helps to keep us healthy. You had a listeria outbreak in, I think it's Boar's Head is the company, correct me if I'm wrong, but we would not know about that in Project 2025 land or era. We wouldn't know about that because there's a loyalist in place that doesn't give a fuck about what we're eating. They know what they're eating, but they don't give a fuck about the rest of America, what we're eating, what drugs that we're ingesting in our bodies. And you know what? Maybe they do give a fuck, but they're not educated enough to know what they should be giving a fuck about. Like that's where we are. That's where we are. Food, health, education, weather, all those departments will be gutted and replaced with loyalists. Mass deportations. Let's talk about this briefly. What would that look like? How are you going to determine the Americans from immigrants? Are there going to be raids on households? And what if in a household you have people who are actual citizens and those who aren't? And then we're separating families again? Just because I have brown skin, are you going to be looking at me, even though I was born here in America? My family's been in America for generations. Would you be looking at me just because of the color of my skin? Because that's what you're doing to Haitian people in Springfield, Ohio right now. That's what you're doing actually to all the Black people, all the brown people in Springfield, Ohio right now. Because how are you going to determine this? How's it going to happen? Please trust me. People are going to fall through the cracks. People are going to fall through the cracks. 45 is talking about putting a Muslim ban back in place again. Women will be back in the kitchens. Immigrants will be out of the country, and loyalists will be in all over the place. Our life will completely turn into some weird, realistic version of The Handmaid's Tale. And I know I've been saying this for years. Hopefully y'all finally hearing me, because you actually have evidence of it now in Project 2025. They put it in writing. Read it. Read it. So these are the things that we should be concerned about. That's why it is imperative. It is imperative that you, first of all, check your voter registration, especially if you're in Oklahoma. If you're in Oklahoma, I think 400 plus thousand people were just dropped from the voting rolls. So check your voter registration. Texas, check your voter registration. But it's imperative for all of us to vote. It's imperative. It's imperative. You cannot sit out this election. You cannot sit back and say, well, it doesn't impact me, or this doesn't. Yes, it does. It just might. It just might. Just because you're brown, just because you're Black, just because you speak with an accent, just because you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. All of this could impact you. And we got to stop thinking this way also. Stop thinking so individualistically. We are a collective. When something happens to one, it's going to eventually get around to you. Trust me. History has shown that. So the White House, we must have the White House. We must maintain the Senate, and we must reclaim the House. So get out there, do the good work, get in good trouble. Get in good trouble. We're down to what, 45 days now? 45 days. That's all we have to protect our democracy, to protect our freedoms, to protect our livelihood, to protect our country, to protect the rule of law. We all have to show up. We all have to show up.